Welcome to the San Antonio Baptist Association Urban Missionary Training Center. This is a series of 5 videos related to how to judge spiritual movements. There are a lot of spiritual movements around the world, but how do we know where God is at work? This is an introduction video, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next 4 videos in this series. When I was in college, I began to investigate the beliefs of other Christians as well as those of other religions. This search that I was on to discern clearly where God was at work and where He wasn't at work, I thought was very, very important, and it's taken me a number of decades to arrive at the 4 fruits that I want to share with you in this video series. I've grown in my faith and my understanding of Scripture, and I've come to realize that there are a number of common fruits and true movements of God. I remember when Karen and I were serving as missionaries in South America, I realized I needed to better understand how to recognize where God was at work, because I was living and working in a second culture and second language. I want to share with you 4 fruits from my decades of learning. I remember years ago, I was preaching at a church in another city. A lady came up after church and had told me that her son had a physical disability, and she had taken him to a place called Lackland, Florida, because she had heard that there was a spiritual movement taking place. So I began to search for Lackland, Florida, and I began to search in other movements that I was seeing in our country and other places of the world, because I wanted to better understand what does Scripture say in comparison to movements that are taking place around the world. You know, we all want a true movement of the Spirit of God. We want to experience God in His fullness. We need to better understand what is authentic, what is a true movement of God, and what is false, because there are many false prophets in the world which would lead us astray. So the purpose of this video series is to identify 4 fruits of true movements of God. The Scriptures remind us that there is no good tree that bears bad fruit, nor, on the other hand, a bad tree that bears good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. Jesus is saying that we can know people by their fruit. Matthew chapter 7 says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor figs from thistles are they. For every good tree bears good fruit. A true spiritual revival from God will bear good fruit." A revival that is not from God, or a spiritual movement that is not from God, will not have the fruits that are found in Scripture. 2 Peter says, "But false prophets also appeared among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you, who will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the master who bought them, bringing swift destruction upon themselves. Many will follow their indecent behavior, and because of them, the way of the truth will be maligned. And in their greed, they will exploit you with false words. Their judgment from long ago is not idle, and their destruction is not asleep." We move on to 2 Corinthians, where Paul tells us, "For such men are false prophets, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. No wonder that even Satan himself disguises as an angel of light. Therefore it is not surprising if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end will be according to their deeds." Paul tells us that even Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. So do his ambassadors. They disguise themselves as angels of light. In this series, we want to look at the 4 fruits of true revival. Yes, there are probably many other fruits of true revival, but at least these 4 can guide us in discerning what is happening in our world today. I want to invite you to watch the 4 upcoming videos in relation to this series of how to judge spiritual movements. Thank you for listening to the San Antonio Baptist Association Urban Missionary Training Center. There are other videos that you can take a look at. Thank you for visiting us. I'll see you in the next video.